Well, good evening to all of you. Welcome to the Seasiders podcast Friday night preview show. It's Fleetwood versus Blackpool tomorrow afternoon live at Highbury Stadium. And we're going to talk all about that game, bringing you games from past players who have played it for both teams and obviously recent records for both sides. I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely exciting encounter come 3 o'clock. Tomorrow. So great to have so many in the show so far. If you leave your comments, join the chat. I'm sure it'll be another good one, just like Tuesday after Blackpool's win against Portsmouth. We are going to do a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't bought a pass yet, don't bother. You might be in for a chance to win one, so stay tuned for that as well. But on positive news, and it's absolutely fantastic that as of now, the Blackpool and the Blackpool Community Trust have raised over £20,000 for an initiative that is to give presents to primary school children. I believe there's 700 to 800 children who will go to this Christmas without having any presents. So so far, it's been absolutely amazing, your support, and hopefully we can reach the target of £25,000, which the Blackpool owner, Simon Sadler, will match up to £25,000. So if you can donate, that would be great. I'll leave it in the comments shortly. Let's try and make this Christmas a special one for all those on the Fylde coast. Anyway, back to the podcast of that positive news. We are joined once again by Tom. Tom, it's great to have you back on the show, and looking forward to it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Big game tomorrow, so on a good run. So it should be an interesting match.
We are going to be joined by Ben now as well. So Ben, great to have you on the Seasiders podcast this evening. How are things with you?
Very good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on, and very excited to be on. So very good. Hope you guys are well as well. Yeah,
Ben, we're perfect and ready for a big game tomorrow afternoon, as I'm sure you and many other Fleetwood Town fans are, and Blackpool fans as well. But Ben, obviously, you're a Fleetwood fan. We always ask our guests at the start of the show, just tell us a little bit about how you got supporting Fleetwood and any memories that stand out for you.
Well, obviously, as a young boy, obviously Fleetwood weren't really around. Obviously, I did go and watch a couple of Blackpool games. I went to the odd, obviously, United game. I've obviously been to a lot of other clubs, but I did go to a few Blackpool games. And obviously, I got free tickets to Fleetwood in about 2009, 2010, and absolutely loved it. The friendly atmosphere, the way that everyone just knew each other. Obviously, at that time, obviously, when I went with people, you could have like beer on like the terraces, and like obviously I couldn't drink. I was about 7, 8 years old, but I'm not like that. But it was just so nice, and it just felt like really nice non-league vibe, and it was just so chilled out. So started off like that. Became a season ticket holder about 8 years ago. And then never looked back, really. Been to nearly 3. I was approaching 300 games towards the back end of that. I will be out over that now, because I would have ended the last season on about 290. But love it. And there's no better feeling in the world when Fleetwood go away with 30 fans and somehow win 1-0.
Again, there's always that aspect, and I know it gets laughed at, but it's working for the club. I know the travel in numbers when they can do. But for you personally, I know obviously lockdown, it doesn't restrict us going to games and stuff, but obviously you've been running a watch along and a YouTube channel for a few years now, Cod's Vlogs. Just tell us a little bit about that, because you're near 6,000 subscribers, and tell the listeners a little bit about your channel and what you got to over there.
Well, I started really just to make videos on my own to obviously build my confidence. And then Fleetwood actually released a video, and I think it was 2015 they released it, or 2014, sometime then, like a day in the life of Fleetwood Town. And I did it once against Getafe in a pre-season friendly. We won 2-0. I think two Sarsic penalties, I think it was. Ever since then, doing match day vlogs on the games, reporting. And I've always wanted to be involved in football, commentating on football. I've done over 200-300 vlogs now on Fleetwood games and a few ground ups. Been doing watch-alongs, which personally, I'll be honest with you, I've enjoyed doing more, but I do miss doing the vlogs. But I enjoy it. It's nice covering Fleetwood and seeing League One. And again, I do talk about all League One over there. Obviously, do a lot of League One videos and talk about Blackpool as well. So it's really interesting, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, again, hopefully you can get to 6,000 before the new year, as that's a fantastic achievement. I'm sure you'll soar on to get even more subscribers on there. But Tom, we'll move it on from Fleetwood to Blackpool. Tuesday, fantastic result, fantastic performance, and that gives us and the Blackpool fans watching this or listening back later a lot of confidence going into this weekend's game.
Yeah, massively. I think after Peterborough and then obviously the Doncaster match was a bit of a kick in the teeth after such a good start. It was nice to see us sort of fight back and get a good win against Harrogate, and then probably, like I said on Tuesday night, our best performance of the season against a high scoring Portsmouth side. So if we can match how we played, or even sort of get close to how we played, we're in for a really big chance tomorrow. I wouldn't change a lot in terms of the team, and the team are on good momentum at the moment, and it's good to see Critchley's, make his own decisions as well, and working with Calderwood, and it's all coming together a lot better than it was at the first start of the season. So I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow.
I guess when you've got a lot of confidence after winning a game against a side like Portsmouth, but a game against a team who are quite close on the map to us, I'm sure I'll get abuse if I say the one word. That's the word I wasn't going to say. But for that game,
the Tram Stop Derby.
The Tram Stop Derby. But Blackpool players shouldn't really need that confidence or motivation to go into this game, because they'll want the bragging rights on the final coast. But again, another 3 points to push them up higher up the league table. Yeah,
I think for Critchley and the team, it's about how we come up against the better side, which Fleetwood are. There's no doubt on it. They are one of the better sides in the league. So he'll want to test the Blackpool players and show this league what we're all about by going there and hopefully sort of going against the odds of their home form and picking up 3 points. And that's what he'll want, and that's what he'll demand from his players. And I'm sure Barton will want exactly the same thing. But I said Peterborough will probably be the most intriguing game of the season so far. But I think this tomorrow changes that. I think this is a game tomorrow which I can't really call, and it will depend on the midfield how the game sort of pans out, in my opinion. But it's going to be a massive game.
Yeah, one I'm looking forward to, and one I'm a bit like you, Tom. I can't quite put my finger on who's going to win. There's been so many draws between the two sides over recent years, and one win for Fleetwood and a few wins for Blackpool, but it really could go either way tomorrow come 5 o'clock. Talking about Blackpool's opponents, Ben, we'll come to you now. Fleetwood currently sitting 8th in Sky Bet League One after winning 7 matches, drawing 2 and losing 6 games in their opening 15. How would you assess Fleetwood's season so far, Ben?
A mixed bag, really, because looking at that, you'd say inconsistent, but you've won more than you've lost, which is always a good kind of site to set your foundations on if you want to finish in the top 10, top 12. But we start the season with a back three of a winger, two kind of young centre halves, and Danny Andrew, who was, the only left back there from last season. So it was always going to be hard to start the season. We obviously had a good attack and good midfield, but in my point of view, you've got to have a good foundation at the back to be able to score. And Fleetwood had that last season. Obviously, you saw Sam at Wickham away winning 1-0, Sunderland, Portsmouth getting a point, Peterborough and Portsmouth winning at home. So it was disappointing that we won 1 and then obviously lost a couple, then got back to winning ways. So I was quite happy, and I'm kind of happy again. I still feel we still need to click. I still feel we've won a few, but we're not at that mojo where we think we can get a win in it. You know what I mean? In pretty much every game, like good teams that get promoted. But tomorrow's going to be a very tough game, and anybody that says it's not, it will be. And Blackpool, in my opinion, are in a false position. And if they're not in the place at the end of the season, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, interesting. I know, obviously, Fleetwood, they've kind of kept a core group, lost a few lone players, Suter, got back Mackay and Connolly, as we were discussing off air and over the last few days. So they've got a core group, but they've got some really good players in. And again, like I said, the season wasn't the best start, but he did pick up a 2-1 victory over Burton, then suffered 3 back-to-back defeats, Peterborough away, 2 goals in the 90th minute, which again is heartbreak. And again, if you were at the game itself, it would have been worse. But Wimbledon and Rochdale in the same thing. As you talked about there, were you a little bit worried, knowing that you haven't bought maybe right back in to replace Louis Coyle and a few other players?
Well, you say about that Peterborough, it's like the Blackpool video I made a few years ago. It's happened again when they scored in the last minute, and that's when it felt like too. And that's what hurt about the Peterborough result. And the Wimbledon, we were awful. and the Rochdale, we were pretty much awful. But again, we lost 2 of those in the last minute, so it would hurt. I don't think we lost 9. I don't think we lost 9 points. I think we lost 3 at Peterborough and maybe 1 at Wimbledon, maybe 1 at Rochdale. So it wasn't as bad. But we always knew we had Charlie Mulgrew possibly coming into the club. I always thought it'd be late, but we'll get him in. And you always knew we'd get someone in. I was starting to panic that we wouldn't, but I always knew we'd get someone in, knowing the build of the club, knowing Andy Pilley, knowing Barton. They will scramble something together. And they were patient, where I think Barton in previous years has rushed out, got his squad together to try and get it by July and then work with it. Because that's what he likes doing. He said it numerous times. But this year, he's waited patiently. He's got his group of players now, which he always likes doing. He's got time till January now. And then after that, hopefully we'll go on a run. But it'll be interesting, but I'm not worried. Looking forward to tomorrow. But I might just put a 5 on 0-0 just so then we can have a goal.
In a few.
I either win 45 quid or we get a goal. Any goal.
Any goal has been, like I said, there's games where I think they're going to have big goals. It's always been a 0-0. But Tom, coming to you now, Ben touched on maybe bringing in Charlie Mulgrew, obviously now at Fleetwood after joining from Blackburn. Would he be a player that you would have liked at Blackpool, or do you think now that even despite the talk about Mulgrew coming, that Blackpool have invested better in a younger player in the likes of Ballard and Gretterson and also Marvin Ekpiteta?
Yeah, I think initially there was rumours of him choosing between the two, wasn't there? And I just thought, what a signing that would be at the time, because we're in a position where we might as well have Bill and Bell at the back. It wasn't working very well at all. And I think, like Tim said in previous sort of videos, that this is probably one of the worst Blackpool defences at the time, just the mistakes we were making individually. So I was quite buzzing to hear that we will potentially sign in Charlie Mulgrew. Would I choose him now over Ballard? Absolutely not. No, I think head and shoulders the best centre back in the league. He's outstanding, and I think he'll go on to bigger and better things. Just how influential has Mulgrew been to Fleetwood since coming in, Ben?
Huge, and like you say, Ballard is a good centre half, and I do agree. He's definitely up there. But Mulgrew, again, his experience, he's like 34, 35 now, and again, Fleetwood have got a mix of experience and young players now. And I remember a few years ago when we had Uwe Rosler and we went on a run, I think Peterborough at home, we were 2-1 up with 2 minutes to go, we lost 3-2. And then you had no experience. The average age of that squad was like 24. Yeah. We've now got Mulgrew, we've got Whelan, we've got Coops, we've got Evans, Madden, then we've got younger players as well. So he is good at the back, and he has played in, I think, a back 3 and a back 4. So he's been good at that. He's a good talker as well, brings the ball out well. And obviously we don't see what goes on in the training ground, but he's been fantastic so far on the pitch. I don't think he's put a mistake wrong. I know I say that he'll score an own goal in the 97th minute tomorrow, but good centre half, good experience, and he's experienced at League One and Championship level, and I think it's been a fantastic coup for us, and will go on and help us in the short term.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And with the likes of Mulgrew coming in, picked up a great home victory against Hull City, a 4-1 win there. And from that game, you haven't really looked back. 3 wins on the bounce, Gillingham, Shrewsbury and Oxford. Games which are always tough. You know you're in for a battle, definitely against Gillingham and the likes of Oxford. To get those results, Ben, and really push Fleetwood up the league table, how important were those 4 wins that we've just spoke about there?
Huge. And obviously I hate saying teams like, because that's all they're really, teams like Fleetwood. But in reality, I'm a Fleetwood fan, and obviously we're a small club, probably 2nd or 3rd smallest in the league. And we're using the term, we should be beating teams like Northampton, and that shows how far we've come. But again, we're doing well. And I always set my foundations off. We need to get something from the better teams. If we don't win, we mustn't lose. And then Gillingham, Bristol Rovers are the type of teams that are normally mid-table that you need to get a win out of to stay up there. And obviously you try and beat the kind of the bottom 4, the bottom 5. So they were great wins. Hull, a great win as well. A good point against Sunderland. A great win against a good Plymouth side. So they are good wins. All wins are good win, but to do it the style we did, I was very happy with. But I'm expecting a different test from Blackpool tomorrow. I think they are a good side. In my opinion, they will finish in the playoffs. I've said that many, many times. And one thing you've done well, the squad's settled now. It was always going to take time. And I would have rather played you 6 games ago than now, because I think you're the favourites right now.
Just looking at this, Tom, Fleetwood we'll come to the game in more detail later on, but there I was talking about Fleetwood's games, some of them on the road, some at home. I think they've only lost one league game all season at Highbury this campaign. Is that a little bit of worry is probably the wrong word, but we'll go with it. A bit of a worry for Blackpool that, yes, the away form hasn't been great in the last 18 months to 2 years, should I say. Is the advantage with Blackpool with the form, or do the home side, who have only lost one game in the league this season, have the advantage?
Great point. I think if you were talking to me before the Barton win and picking up a win against Peterborough, I think I'm going into tomorrow's game thinking we might lose 3 or 4-0 because they are that good at home. And we saw against Hull, I thought that was thoroughly impressed with how they played, how they pressured Hull into making mistakes. And Hull are a great side, as they're proven to be now. But I'll go on form and the way we played against Peterborough, the way we handled Portsmouth. If we set up like we did and Dougal has a good game, he's the key tomorrow, then, like I said, it's still on a knife edge. I can't really call it, but there's no reason why we can't win tomorrow if we turn up. If Fleetwood get in our faces early doors and we go back to the old way of how we were, i.e. Doncaster in the second half, it puts us under a lot of pressure. We'll see. It's certainly going to be a big game tomorrow. Their home form will count, but Peterborough were unbeaten at home all season, and we went there and they didn't deserve to score, and luckily we got the win. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm just going to read a few of the comments out before we move on to Fleetwood's last game. That was on Tuesday night. But Gareth, some of the comments have been on the screen already. He says, use pace against the Cods tomorrow. Their defence will not be able to handle it. I'm assuming he's talking about the likes of CJ and Kaka on the far side, if those two are going to play tomorrow. Another comment saying, Gareth, he's got one saying, Dougal against Camps will be a key battle tomorrow. And funnily enough, we were talking off air about 2 minutes before live that certainly will be. And we'll come to Camps in a little bit. Actually, we'll come to Camps now. Actually, I'll move it forward, Ben. Obviously, 10 goals in 20 appearances this campaign. He's been a quality signing for you, hasn't he? He's been at Rochdale in the past, but to me, he's moved on since joining the Cod Army.
Absolutely. And he's having a season like Josh Morris did at Scunthorpe. I don't know if you remember, he scored like 21 goals in a season. He started really well. And Scunthorpe should have gone up that year, in my opinion. But he's having one of those. He's in a better team now. No disrespect to Rochdale. He's got Whelan and Coots behind him, so he can go and attack a little bit more. But again, scoring goals, he works hard for the team. He can play in a couple of different positions. But I'm looking forward to that battle between Dougal, obviously known from his time at Barnes, I think it was. But again, good player, works hard. And I'll tell you something, that, in my opinion, whoever wins that battle will win the game tomorrow, because it's simple as that. They're two very good midfielders, probably two of the best 5 or 6 in the League One, experienced at a higher level. But again, Camp's brilliant signing, and in my opinion, I think he's our probably second best signing since arriving in the Football League, and that's behind Paddy Madden, who's I think 3 or 4 goals away from the all-time EFL goal score record for Fleetwood, and what a signing he was. But Camp's on a free. I don't think there's a better attacking midfielder for that in League One.
Tom, your thoughts? We were obviously discussing off air, Dougal, Camps. Do you think it's whoever wins that battle, their team goes on and wins the game tomorrow?
Is it as simple as that? Probably not. But if we can dominate the midfield, and if he can let Robson play and do all the dirty work, a bit like Adam and Southern used to do for Blackpool, I think we can control the game tomorrow, and that's really important. I was just going to ask Ben, is there anybody in the league that has played against Camps and stopped him playing his natural game? Because he's got, I think, 8 goals in 15 appearances. It's a goal better than a goal every other game. So it's certainly a danger man. Has he come up against someone that stopped him playing this season?
Well, obviously he's not scored in games, but I don't think he's been stopped yet. I think Ledbetter did a good job against him last week, but Camp still had a huge chance where he's hit the crossbar from 30 yards out. And I don't think any midfielder in League One can get tight to him for 90 minutes. He'll have, in my opinion, he'll have at least one chance tomorrow. And if he takes it, he takes it. But he's a good player. But there have been players kind of think that have done better than others. But I don't think there's been one that's kind of been like, wow, what a performance. He's just stopped our playmaker and stopped us playing. But who knows? But he was out wide the other day, so you can't really say anything like that. But it's been a great addition to us, and I'm Really looking forward to seeing how he does tomorrow. Obviously, he's got a good record in the derbies that he's been at. Obviously, Rochdale against Bury and Rochdale against Oldham. So hopefully he can produce again tomorrow.
Yeah, interesting. But you talk about games he didn't score in. Tuesday night, Ben, not the best result away at Northampton. A game probably should be winning, but a completely different side. One who are going to sit back and long balls, as I'm sure you watched it on your watch along on Tuesday. Disappointing result, obviously, but what were your thoughts on the game?
Disappointing because you want to win every game, don't you? But again, it's one of those after half time. That's what's so disappointing about it. A header from a corner, ex-Fleetwood man. And then after that, you can't give teams a 1-goal head start away from home like that. You can't blame them for sitting in. They did well. They defended well. We didn't cause them problems. One of those nights. And I said it was, obviously, you watched us against Accrington, Sam, and it was just like that. Dominate the first half. They get a second half goal, get a chance, sit back, defend, do well. That's pretty much the game. And I think Blackpool will have a better chance if they sit back against us tomorrow. I think if they come at us, we could hit them on the counter-attack as well with the pace of Mackay, Burns, got Madden and Shed up front as well. And the bench, obviously Morris has been on there in recent weeks, Mark Duffy. So I think the bench tomorrow will play a huge part.
Yeah, coming to that, Tom, actually. So Ben makes a really good point there. That obviously now the rules are changed. You can make 5 subs. I've seen it worked well, and obviously people might know I'm taking pictures for Fleetwood on Saturday. And I've seen where they were kind of 4-0 up against Plymouth. They made 4 changes, 4 really experienced players. Ched Evans came on, Paul Coots, Glenn Whelan, Barry Mackay, who's on loan. Again, could that have a big factor play tomorrow, that teams can make 5 changes if things aren't going well and can really change the swing of the game, especially if it's in favour of the other?
Yeah, you can make a triple substitution, which was outrageous, come 3 or 4 weeks ago, wasn't it? And still have 2 left to sort of affect the game. So it's scary what you can do. And as a manager, I think it's made, if anything, a lot more difficult now because you've got so many to choose from, and then you can bring some on. When do you make that first sub? When do you make the second? Or do you make 2, then 1? Or do you use 5 at all? So if you've got a wealth of experience on the bench, or you know someone or 2 players that can really affect the game, you've got the opportunity to bring them on and still bring on experience after that as well. So Fleetwood have got that, and they've got youngsters that can affect the game, as have we. So I think Critchley did it against Peterborough at the wrong time, arguably. He made 2 subs when we were controlling the game, we conceded, and then you're in a bit of a world of trouble where are those players going to step up? And luckily we did that game, but it will take an experienced manager or someone to adapt to it quite quickly in the new world. But we're all in the same boat, so it's interesting to see how the managers will do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you've kind of both said regarding that. But obviously, I've been to a few games and worked at Fleetwood for 3 years, and the players that are there can stand out. Like Camps we spoke about, Evans, Madden, Burns, who can sometimes head off games, but more or not, he works with the team and he can score that goal. He's obviously scored a few against Blackpool, hasn't he, Ben? But if you were to give Blackpool fans a player to watch out for, it might be Camps again, or someone different than Camps, should we say? Who would you say that they should keep an eye on tomorrow?
I'll go for someone different. I'll go Paddy Madden. Obviously, he's a goal scorer. He scored the winner when we met a couple of years ago. And he scores goals at this level. He's got 4 goals and assists this year. I still think he's waiting to go on his run that he normally goes on, where the goals do add up. But I think he will go on it. Again, I don't think he's been as good in the derby games against you. But he just needs that 1 goal and he's away. But he works hard for the team. He presses well. He pretty much wins every header from the opposition corner. And again, he's a striker that's a defensive striker, but again, can play in numerous different positions and scores goals at League One level. You don't want anything more than that.
Yeah, again, he's going to be key if he can play. He's obviously, as you said, scored the winner in the 3-2 win for Fleetwood at Highbury Stadium a few years back. So he's got fond memories of this, the game between the 2 sides. But moving to Joey Barton, Ben, I'll come to you first, and then Tom, his thoughts on Joey. You either love him or hate him, don't you? I think most people in the chat will agree with that. I think he's a great character, and I've got on with him for 3 years. But obviously, he's been there for 2.5 seasons now, Ben. He's pushed Fleetwood on, you might agree, in terms of the style of football, and they were lucky not to go up last season, should we say. But how have you taken to Joey Barton over the last few years? And do you think he's the man that can get Fleetwood into the Championship because they were close last year?
Absolutely. And at first I was like, oh, why was they appointed Joey Barton and he's this, he's that. But I watched his football and I watched it close in the first few months, and he had to get with the fans' favourites, which was tough, but he did it in a good style. And you say to yourself, has there anyone that he got rid of went on to bigger and better things? Bobby Grant's in League 2, McElhenney League 2, Bolgett League 1. Apart from that, the big ones, they're all in a lower level. And again, he's brought better players in. We're now playing better football than we were. We're playing, obviously, in numerous different formations. We defend better. We look better on the front foot. We score more goals. And he plays football the right way. And I think sometimes his press conferences don't do him the world of good. I just wish sometimes before a big game that they can send the assistant. So nothing can be said. But I love him. I personally think he's a great manager and he will go far. And again, if he can behave himself, I think he will go far because he's got the ability. He's got a very good footballing brain and he knows how to perfect a win and to kind of get a side believing again, because we didn't have that under Uwe well. So we had a side that was winning games, but we were winning ugly. And it was like, how have we won that? Skin of our teeth. And good, don't get me wrong, you've got to win when you've been ugly, but with Barton, you pretty much win. And again, we do grind out that ugly win, but you tend to, the results tend to be better when you play better football. And that's what we've had with Joey.
Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Ben summed it up more than I could because he's obviously a Fleetwood fan. I mean, the comments he tries to make against Blackpool clearly last season didn't work, and I think he tries to wind the opposition up a little bit more, and I think he's a bit of a sore loser, and that will come with experience. I think someone spoke about Ferguson for Peterborough over the years, became a lot more sort of mature, a lot more sort of professional when it comes to his press conferences, and I think Barton will come. That will come with age as well. But in terms of his personality, you know, he's not my manager, and I don't think he comes across well at all. And Fleetwood fans might know him differently, but footballing wise, he's got Fleetwood up to the playoffs. He's got Fleetwood up into the top half. You know, they're really good at home. There's no doubt he's developed that team and made them a much better footballing side. And he's brought his character into matches. As Ben said, they've picked up wins or they've grinded out draws, and where they probably would have lost 2 or 3-0 previously. So credit to the job is done. I want nothing more than to beat him tomorrow, but I still won't call it that word either, even though he said he would. But no, there's no doubt in terms of footballing wise, he's developed Fleetwood, and he must have learned a lot himself. So, you know, credit to him in that respect. But in terms of his press conferences, etc., that will come with age and experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, he likes the old mind game, doesn't he? As probably me and Ben can allude to more, and also the Fleetwood fans who are joining us in this podcast this evening. But well, obviously that's a nice little link into what both managers have been saying ahead of the game. We'll start off with what Joey said. We'll bring it on the screen. Joey's a few things to say. I've tried to narrow it down into a small rectangle square, so it's not all in order. But he goes on to say, we hope to start another winning run in a local derby match on Saturday. The challenge we have is playing the way we want to and getting the results. And I know when things go well, we will win. But we need to try and win 26 games to be promoted. But Blackpool are probably favourites in going into this game based on their financial spends and recent form. And Tom, I'll come to you first before we go to Ben. That last line, that last sentence, just want to try and wind up Neil Critchley and try and get out the Blackpool fans.
Yeah, I think, look, we've spent a lot of money, but it's the first time we've done it in a long time, and everybody knows that. And if we've got the money to spend and we've spent it, logically, we haven't gone out and spunked a lot of money on 2 or 3 players. You know, we've bought a lot in, and then we're trying to build something. So I think every manager has alluded to the fact that we've spent a lot of money, but they've probably quickly forgotten our past. So recent form, yeah, we probably are favourites at the end of the day. That's how form works. If you're in good form, you are the favourite. So he might be trying to play mind games. He's speaking some level of truth, but they've spent a lot of money on wages, and they've spent a lot of money coming up through the league. So, you know, you need to remember his past as well. He'll be playing mind games like we knew their starting lineup last season. A bit, you know, things like that. So financial spends is, you know, pretty ironic in comparison to what they've done in the past. But he is speaking some truths. At the end of the day, we are in good form, and you know, we have spent a lot of money. So they're 2 facts. We just need to focus on the football tomorrow and not a war of words.
Yeah, I'll read a few comments out from the fans who are in the chat this evening. I'll come to you, Ben, shortly. Gareth White said financial spend. The Cods have the second highest wages in the league, don't they? I'd have to go and make sure that was true, but I'm sure they're quite close up there. Like Fleetwood haven't spent shed loads in the past, as Tom was alluding to, and Bison's the final one we'll read out. Financial spends, king of irony. Again, I'm sure that'll wind a few Blackpool fans up in the comments, but again, that's what he would have wanted to go into his press conference to try and wind a few people up ahead of the game tomorrow. But Ben, what are your thoughts on Joey's pre-match press conference notes there?
Obviously, I watched the interview yesterday, obviously in preparation for this. It was obviously very good. I do agree, obviously, with the wages. When I think we spend money in different ways, you might go and get kind of players for the future and spend it on transfer fees and agent fees, where we'll kind of get better players that maybe have been released from the pecking order. But I can't talk about Blackpool spends when we've got Charlie Mulgrew, Glenn Whelan, Paul Cooch, Ched Evans, Paddy Madden, those types of players who they're not going to be on pennies, are they? I don't think they'll be on as much as people are thinking. We are under the cap because obviously Barton said that, and we'd get the kind of the discipline if we was, but we are under that. But again, you can't really talk about another club spends when we've probably spent as much in a year on wages as you've done in transfer fees. But again, he's one of those kind of that just wants to get a reaction. And obviously last year he said we were a bigger club and we're a better footballing outfit. Better footballing outfit, I agreed with at that moment in time, because I thought Blackpool was just starting to hit a sticky patch where they were still in the playoffs, but you could see maybe a downfall coming. And bigger club, no. You know what I mean? I just wish I think sometimes that was let him down, and he's realised that. Obviously, he did that in the last Blackpool press conference where he was kind of a bit more quiet, but I just wish he sent like Andy Mannion or Clint Hill to do the press conference before Blackpool, because you always know he's like a former Tourette's. He just has to. He just loves the bait, doesn't he? But yeah, I agree with your comment, and it would be interesting to see your wages compared to ours. But I bet ours is quite a bit higher.
I think. I think we've got a few. Like Tim's just said in the chat, we've got a few high earners now, but we've also got rid of players that were on high wages last season as well. And you've got to think we've got a bit of money for our players as well. Thompson, etc. We've got £1 million for last season and a few others. So I think the wages themselves we've probably spent a bit, yes. But I mean, we've balanced our books a bit more in a more clever way than I thought initially when we got rid of so many players and we just got loads in. You got to think of how many we actually got rid of and how much money that probably equated to what we've signed, some loans, etc. And some won't be on masses of money. I know Virtue signed a new contract. We've got Medine and a few others, but you're probably saying we've spent a little bit more than what we were previously on, but with the transfer wages and the players we've lost, we haven't spent ridiculous amounts. It's not like we've spent £2-3 million on players. Like Peterborough got 10 million for one of theirs, then spent £1 million. We haven't gone out and done that yet, so I think we're going about things the right way, and we're making very good signings and shrewd signings for the future, as long as it carries on growing and sticking together. Yeah,
I think obviously done business before the 2.5 million cap came in, which I think was clever of Blackpool, Neil Critchley, and the recruitment side of things there. But talking about Neil Critchley, he's obviously had his pre-match press conference, maybe a little bit calmer and not as out there as Joey was. I think yesterday they did theirs. But I'll put it on the screen so people can read it, those who are watching. But I'll read it out. So the team that takes to the pitch on Saturday will vastly be different to the one that faced Fleetwood in March. Both ourselves and Fleetwood are in good form, and I'm sure that'll be a hard-fought game. We need to make sure we bring certain aspects to our play, and that's what we've been working on or worked on this week. Tom, I'll come to you first. Obviously, our manager, Neil Critchley, there. Again, he's probably right in saying it's got a completely different team because he's had a few more months to really put a stamp on his style of play and what he wants to do at Blackpool.
Yeah, it was one of his just sort of come to me. It was one of his earliest games, wasn't it? Maybe he's even the first away game. I might be wrong, but we were starting to see what Critchley wanted to achieve early last season, weren't we? Versus what Dinosaur Ball gave us just before that. So I've always said Critchley's a really good talker. He's very calm and he's very sort of articulate with what he wants to say. So I think it's summarised exactly what we've both just said in tomorrow's match. It will be a hard-fought game. It will be an interesting game, and it will be a game where if we win, he'll come out with his head held high, and I'm sure it'll be I'm sure we'll be worth the win if we do get it tomorrow. It's a hard place to go to. If you offered most teams a draw away to Fleetwood at the start of today, or at the start of the season, you're more than likely take it. We'll want to win because of the way we're growing and what we're achieving, but Critchley's very assured, and I think Calderwood's bringing that level of direction to the club as well. So tomorrow's going to be, like I said, an interesting game, and one he will stay calm in throughout, and I think he might have the edge over Barton in that sense.
Ben, your thoughts to what Tom's saying and what Neil Critchley said in his pre-match notes?
Yeah, I can agree. Obviously, when you first come into a club, obviously, it's going to be tough because you have that little bit of a bounce and you want to impress. And they only had, I think, a couple of games against us, and they thought they were decent, they were compact, and you can't really get the messages in 2 to 3 days. It's just going to kind of give a good performance and try and get a best result possible. Then obviously I saw bits of you against Tranmere, and I thought you were unbelievable. And how you lost that 2-1 was beyond belief, because Scott Davis came, I think, unbelievable, 4 or 5 very good saves. But now you brought a lot of players in, 21 out in the summer. You look at Feeney, you look at Spearing, Nanule. A lot of those spine of that squad that have been there for a few years really have gone. You've got young, fresh, and it looks like you've kind of rebuilt now, and you're going to be okay for 2 or 3 years. And these players are on 3-year contracts, pretty much, most of them, or 1 in another year or 2 in another year. So it's going to take time for Blackpool. If they don't go up this year, they'll go up next year or the year after. But in 3 years, I think they will be up. But I think that what he said is fair enough. A lot of changes. He's experienced a bit more now. I think kind of the way it started did him the world of good in the weirdest sense, if you know what I mean, where he's sensed a disappointment now and how to get over that. And he's done that. And it's just about keeping the focus going to us on Saturday. And it's going to be a very good game, and one that I'm very much looking forward to. And knowing now, look, you probably beat us 3-0 in the league, and we'll beat you 2-0 in the Papa John's Trophy, and you'll come back going, yeah, we don't care about that one. We beat you in the league. No matter what score we beat you.
I think what we've got to remember, Ben, as well, I think it's a bit of a tainted for Critchley in a sense of, I think Calder would come in at the perfect time for the Blackpool fans because we're all on Critchley's back. And no one's sure whether Critchley's sort of message is now working, overnight with Calderwood, or Calderwood's having such a big effect on Critchley that is making, changes the way they think. But Critchley came out of his shell, so to speak, and went against what fans probably wanted on Tuesday and dropped Madine, or rested Madine, should I say, maybe for this weekend. And he's making his own decisions as well. At the end of the day, he's a manager and he's being directed now by a much more experienced head as well. So it's nice to see Critchley sort of work with Calderwood in such a good way and very fast, because the first game was Burton, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And yeah, we won that 2-1 and we haven't looked back since.
Yeah, great addition to the backroom staff, and I'm sure it's a mixture of both, really. Maybe a bit more discipline in the dressing room and good cop, bad cop, as I've said on a few podcasts in the past. But obviously, a game tomorrow. Look at briefly the head-to-heads between the two sides. There's not been many games, only been 9 since 2012. And you look at that respect. 5 wins to Blackpool, 1 win for Fleetwood, 3 draws. Ben, you're looking at the history, well, the short history between the two sides there. Blackpool just seems to got the better of Fleetwood, bar that one game, which was an absolute thrill, you have to say, at Highbury, 5 goals in it. But when you look at that, as a Fleetwood fan, you must be a little bit nervous going into this game tomorrow.
And even that one was a bit controversial. The first 2 goals, one was definitely a foul, and the other one, I think Louis Coyle pushes one of your players over. So, we skinned through that one. No, but I always say we've got nothing to lose because we've not got a good record against you. But it's yours for the taking. Kind of, you want to keep that going, and you used to getting 3 points. I don't think you've beaten us at home in the league. You've only beaten us once in the league. At home, and also 5-1 in the FA Cup. Obviously, at home you've beaten us kind of. Was it 1-0, 2-1, 2-1 again, and 3-1, which was absolutely awful. And again, Fleetwood could have had 3 or 4 on the day as well. But again, looking forward to the game, and hopefully Fleetwood can get that second win tomorrow and kind of restart. But it'd just be Fleetwood's look to get the double over Blackpool when, there's no fans in. But I think no fans could help Fleetwood, because I think sometimes we've been nervous by the occasion, and Blackpool as a club are used to that. Obviously, loads of playoff finals, loads of big games in the Premier League and the Championship. So I think they can manage the occasion better. No fans could help Fleetwood tomorrow, but I know some people will go in here. Fleetwood don't have fans when they have fans in. But yeah, going to be an interesting one.
Tom, that's not a bad point from Ben there, is it? That obviously the expectation of 3,500, 4,000 Fleetwood fans inside the ground, and say 1,200 Blackpool fans in the Percy Ronson stand and a little bit of the main stand. Could that have an impact tomorrow? That there's maybe a little bit less pressure on either side tomorrow?
I'm not sure. I think Blackpool away support, in my opinion, is one of the main reasons to support the club. And I think everywhere we go, we make a fantastic atmosphere. And at the end of the day, I think that away in Booman tomorrow, if we get an early goal, would be the catalyst to push us on to further things. And as it would for Fleetwood, they make a half decent atmosphere at home as well. So, it's a rock and a hard place in some decision whether it will make it. I think like I said, in recent form, we've coped well with not having the fans there. The North Stand and the away fans, will always have a massive impact on Blackpool. I think as it would for any team. Sunderland, for example, how many home fans do they have? 30,000. I think that also has the reverse psychological effect, doesn't it? So I don't know. It's really difficult to gauge whether it's an advantage or not nowadays. I think if you're a good team, I think you'll be there or thereabouts come the end of the season. I think that's where it is. It's gutting to not be there. It's gutting to not be making the noise in the way in. But I think if you're a good side, you'll be there or thereabouts at the end of the season.
Yeah, looking back at the 2 games last season, obviously Critchley's first, one of his first games, Fleetwood away, finished 0-0. Quite even. You have to play 1 shot on target for each team, 4 or 5 shots for each team as well. But looking at the game before that, which was back in December, the 7th, who was going to play each other around the same time? But Ben, I'll come to you first. Obviously, on the losing side that afternoon, 3-1 win for Blackpool. Feeney, Kai, and Nangele scoring against a very young Billy Crellin that afternoon. But again, just the emotions and stuff in the way on that day, it was just a hard one to take, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I agree with, I think, what Alex just put. It is a bigger game for us than it is for you. So I can see that now, when it's a very good point. But yeah, it was a tough one to take. But again, Blackpool were the better side on the day. You can't knock that. I thought they were brilliant. And for me, I thought the best 2 performances of the season for Blackpool probably came at home in 2 weeks. Obviously, when you beat Peterborough 4-3 at home, and obviously us. After that, I think you only won 2 or 3 games after that. So hopefully it can be a better game than that for us. But going to be an interesting one. And I'm just hoping that I can sit the comfort of my home and feel happy come 5 o'clock instead of not being in a good mood and feeling frustrated on Sunday and Monday. But the only good thing is that I'm not coming home and I'm not in the mood. So going to be an interesting one. But again, it was always a hard one to take when you beat us 3-1. Some very good finishes that day. Kai, I think, was a brilliant strike that just looped. Feeney was a good strike. Nangele's just scrambled in, a typical Nangele goal pretty much. And we got one back, and it was all hands to the pumps after that, wasn't it? I think we hit the bar a couple of times, but hopefully we can get a win. And I'm just hoping for a much better game tomorrow. I'd rather it be 3-3 than 0-0. Put it that way.
Tom, did you go to the game back in December, or is that when you might have missed?
Difficult time at work for that.
Yeah.
But no, I think I left early doors to listen to the game, and we played really well. I think, like Ben just alluded to, after that was a bit of a rotten form, wasn't it? So, which epitomises our downfall a little bit and what caused Critchley to come in. But in terms of the game, I think we controlled it for the most part, and at 3-0 we let them play a bit more than we probably should have in terms of letting our guard down. But it was a decent game for us, and overall a good victory to a half decent side at the time.
Yeah, some fans just saying an absolute belter from Kai.
Yeah,
see if you can get on the score sheet again tomorrow against the Konami. But yeah, great atmosphere. If I remember the right, they've been in the press box. Fleetwood fans to my left, Blackpool, the North stand to my right, and it was absolutely electric inside. And I'm sure it would have been the same again tomorrow. And fingers crossed we can all be back inside Blackpool's ground for the reverse fixture this season. Obviously, all good news with the vaccine that's been announced and going to be out there for people to have, I'm sure, before Christmas and New Year, which is all positive signs. All that leads us to our question. Hope people have been listening very carefully to it, but we are going to put the 30-second countdown clock on for you. And this is a chance to win a iFollow pass for tomorrow's game between Fleetwood and Blackpool. And the question is as followed.
Yeah, so who scored Blackpool's opener in their last home game against Fleetwood? That's who scored Blackpool's opener in their last home game against Fleetwood. So
once the clock reaches 0, those after that will not be counted. So make sure you get them in soon in the next 30 seconds, and the winner will be announced after the show. Well, time's up. I wish I had the countdown clock on, to be fair. It would have made it a little bit more interesting. But it seems a lot of you have got involved. And Tom and the Seasider podcast will let you know if you've won a free iFollow pass for tomorrow's game. Viewers, again, you've got your comments in so much this evening. We want to keep it. Someone said the Starman. Interesting. People have asked, we're going to ask the viewers, what are their kind of favourite memories in matches involving Blackpool and Fleetwood. Again, there's been kind of many, maybe in the past, maybe not in the league. We've had the FA Cup game, which I didn't go to. It was absolutely gutted not to be there. But I don't know, Tom, I'll start off with you first. A game that stands out for you between the two clubs?
I think for me, it was the 2012 match, purely on the basis of it was a massive game for them at the time, and we absolutely destroyed them. So I think we were, as fans, a bit nervous as to what to expect because, Fleetwood away, and, we didn't want to be embarrassed, and we dealt with them very well that day. I think Matt Phillips got a hat-trick. I just remember Luala scoring, and we just put him to bed quite early doors. And I think Jamie Vardy scored for Fleetwood that day. So just shows you what a journey that he's been on, winning the Premier League and top goal scorer since. So, I think for me it was the 5-1, just purely on the basis that we had such a good side then, and we did a really good job on them. And the 3-1 last year was a bit special. We've had a couple of games at home as well, but we had that middle period of the boycott where no one really cared. So for me, it was the 5-1 or the 3-1 last year.
Interesting. Steve, who is in the comment section. Steve, thanks for the comment. He says the late winner from Fons under Mick Phillips, and I can see Ben with his.
That was such an awful goal as well.
Just a long. I remember being in the press box, obviously at Fleetwood, and it's just a long ball that young James Hill, I think, doesn't deal with, and again, just that loop from Nangele, I think, or vice versa, and Delfonso just runs from post bar, and Delfonso just runs through to do it. Dennis Hutchins says his favourite memory is last year's pitch invasion. Probably one of my favourites there. Steve also says the 5-1 victory for him. Tim Fielding says first game we're playing in 1980 FA Cup. First round, 11,000 there with Ball as Blackpool's player manager. Bison's just said, going back to Tom's comment about Vardy, Oyston offered 1 million for Vardy straight after that game. Whether that's true or not, we'll have to wait and see. Could have been at Blackpool. Would have been an interesting signing. Would he have gone on to Leicester and done the things he's done there? We're not too sure. Gareth E says Nangele scoring the last-minute winner was decent. I wasn't there. Absolutely miffed. Again, some great memories, and keep them coming in. We'll try and read them out when we can. But Ben, coming to you for your favourite moment, it's got to be the 3-2, hasn't it?
Yeah. And probably the end of the season when I know we don't have to play for at least 3 months, so I don't have the pain on my timeline of like. I'll be honest, if you beat us tomorrow, I just know it's going to be lip up, way unlucky. That's all I normally get. But again, it's all good banter. But the time we beat you 3-2, the only time we pretty much played well. But always good when we play you, but the results never seem to be. The first 10, 15 minutes against you seem to be okay. But after that, again, they're a bit pear-shaped after that.
Just look at just some of your kind of emotions after that 3-2 victory. There was so much riding on it. Just Joey's first taste of the Fleetwood Blackpool games and the atmosphere and the crowd. I remember being there and the atmosphere where you stand in the memorial. It was an electric day, wasn't it, for both the fans and the club, because they've worked hard, and there were 3, as I said, maybe 2 dubious goals that were given, but the Paddy Madden winner at the end was just a quality goal, wasn't it? And to be in front of the fans must have even been better for you.
Yeah, it was brilliant, but the one thing that didn't help me out, right, we scored 3-1, brilliant. You scored 30 seconds later. So it was like, here we go again. But no, it was a good win, don't get me wrong. But again, Blackpool, I don't base my season off beating Blackpool. I'm not one of those. I'd rather finish in front of you than you beat you twice. You know what I mean? But you've had that advantage over us in previous years. But one good thing when we've always played Blackpool, and I've always said to like family members, apart from maybe last year towards the end, there's always been in the last 3 or 4 years, there's always been a couple of places between Blackpool and Fleetwood. Yeah. So Blackpool go in front of it, then Fleetwood, and then Blackpool, and there's always kind of at least minimum of maximum of 5 or 6 points in between. So that's why it was so tight when we play, and that's why it was so good to get that win over you. So it was a good win, but that's in the past. Now we need to put that to the bed, and I want to go and win again tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll ask for your score predictions later on, as well as all the people listening, watching this evening. But a question here from James, Ben. Do you think Vardy could come back to Fleetwood and be the manager in the future?
No.
Just leave that one there.
That's like saying, do you think you put on like a hot pot on a pizza? Like, I don't think so. I think he'll get into coaching. I think he'll be like an Andy Mangan is at Fleetwood right now. Obviously, one of the coaching staff, and obviously works with the strikers day in day out. And obviously came and did a session when I was at the college course there. I think he might manage Leicester one day, but I don't think so. I think he'll be looking more of a Nathan Pond or a Clint Hill in the future to replace Barton. But I'd love to see Vardy manage, but I don't manage that. But imagine that, it'd be brilliant.
Vardy party every time you win, wouldn't it? I think if he was in charge. But James, James, thanks for the question there. Hopefully that answered for you nicely. Moving on to a section which we do every week for obviously the 2 teams, players who have played for both. I'm sure there's a few people in the comments who have already mentioned it, so I'll try and go back and find it. We'll start off with Phil Clarkson. Gary Ford got that comment in. Played for Fleetwood for 1 season. There's actually no record when I was looking for how many games he played, but he was there for a year before going to Blackpool in 1997, leaving in 2002, where he made 171 appearances and played and scored 35 goals for Blackpool. Obviously seen them win promotion against Leyton Orient in the League 2 playoff final at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. Looking a player an ex-player and a staff now who's at Fleetwood, Ben, is Stephen Craney. Only at Fleetwood for a year, played 30 appearances, but what did you make of Stephen Craney? Just an ultimate professional, isn't he, really?
Yeah, solid, and always a 6 or a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Always gave it his all. Good player, good left back, consistent, and good defender. And I think he's enjoying the coaching life right now. And obviously, I always see him at pool tucking into his dinner. And but again, a good player, and did well for Blackpool and did well for Fleetwood. And also had a spell at other File Club AFC Filed. So I don't think there's been many that's played for all 3.
No, definitely. Another one who's on the coaching staff at Fleetwood is Andy Mangan. Started off at Blackpool before having a great spell at Fleetwood, and I'm sure he'll be buzzing for the game tomorrow. Tom, we'll keep on with the Stephen Craney talk. Obviously, move it to Stephen Craney. Yeah, so joined the club 07 to 13, 2013, where he played 214 appearances, 4 goals, and then Fleetwood, as we said, with Ben there. The only word I can use for him is that just an ultimate professional, but I believe you have a bit of a fond memory and a closeness with Cranes, don't you?
I don't know if it's fond, but yeah, it's quite long story short. When we went to Brighton away, whenever it was, when we were 2-0 down, and Kevin Phillips, what a player he was for us, he got a volley in the last minute, and it was a steaming hot day. All the players came over, bundled in with us. I got Craney's head, give it a good old kiss, and I came back with about half a mouthful of his sweat in my mouth, and spat it out and nearly threw up, I think. But what a day that was.
I'm gonna have it safe.
But in terms of him playing for Blackpool, I think you say ultimate professional, and you couldn't sum up any more. He was the most incredible character for us, and I think without him, we would have lost many a game. And he loved the fans as well. And the old Stephen Craney fist bump and stuff was something I don't think Blackpool sort of folklore will never forget, and I'll never forget him playing for Blackpool. So he was an absolute quality player for us.
Yeah, I can echo what both of you have said. Obviously worked with him for a number of years, and I was telling you just before we came on air that we used to have staff games every Friday before a home game, and when you've watched Craney play and you think of his intensity and how he runs about, and he does the exact same thing, whether it's head tennis, five-a-sides, you name it, he wants to win everything. And to me, that's what just makes the ultimate professional footballer for me, just a winner that always wants to do his best and doesn't like losing, to be fair, but he's a great sport. And again, it'll be a tough one for him tomorrow, but obviously allegiances will be with Fleetwood obviously working there.
He knows underneath him,
his heart is tangerine. Hope he doesn't mind me saying that. But another player, Keith Sullivan, we'll talk about in the same team. There's a few, to be fair. But Keith Sullivan, again, I use the word professional, but over 300 appearances for Blackpool. Tom, 32 goals over a spell of 10 years, and then joined Fleetwood for a year where he only made 2 appearances from what we've seen. Yeah. But again, just a battle in midfield. And at the start of the season, he would be someone I'd love to have kind of gone back in time and had him in this team, because he would have worked wonders, I think, breaking the ball down and giving the ball to the likes of Dougal. But again, just an absolute, a Blackpool legend. I'm going to put it as that.
Yeah, there's nothing short of a legend, to be honest with you, in my eyes anyway. He was phenomenal. That team, I think they brought us memories that we might not see for a very long time, but in terms of their endeavour and their passion for the game, it won't be beaten. And I think he was just someone that did everything he possibly could, not only to win, to get the ball, to make us successful. And there's loads of games there. Like I said, over 300 games for Blackpool, and one of my favourite moments is when I think we got that goal against Cheltenham in the 2-1 victory quite late on. The away end was pretty nutty, and that sort of set us off in the perfect 10 as well. And he was such a vital player. And if you remember, I think he scored against Bristol City. Did he score against Bristol City in the draw or someone anyway in the playoff sort of run up? And he scored so many vital goals, but he also probably won us so many games coming off the bench or just keep that midfield as tight as houses. So I'll never forget him as a player. And oh Lord, Keith Southern, he's an absolute hero. So yeah.
Another one, Ben, you might be able to come in on this one. Chris Maxwell, obviously now Blackpool's number 1, but a highly rated goalkeeper and had a good spell at Fleetwood. And you'll be someone who might have watched him a little bit more closely than some of the Blackpool fans have. Absolutely.
And I'd say, because I think he's one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best, in League One. I'm not going to say he's not, because he went to Preston in Blackpool. Brilliant stop shopper. Brilliant, again, great attitude, captain. I think he's even your captain. Great captain material. The only one thing that let him down at Fleetwood, I think, was sometimes his distribution. But again, goalkeepers, why are they going to be in League One if everything's perfect? And I think he's done brilliant at Blackpool. He was brilliant at Fleetwood. I think he's a top League One goalkeeper. And again, like obviously, Preston's loss is your gain, and I think he's going to be a terrific attribute for you going forward. And big fan of him. And I spoke to him a lot of times when he was at Fleetwood. And I'll be honest, when fans were throwing stuff at him. I wasn't a fan of that because he was there for 3-4 years, and he was a big servant to us and really helped us. Yeah, absolutely, and get us out of League Two. He kind of really helped us push on in League One. So great player, great attitude, and couldn't speak highly enough of him. And again, he's your goalkeeper now, but I'm very happy with the goalkeepers that we've got. But I think Maxwell is a top quality goalkeeper in League One, and obviously there's loads more that have played for both clubs. So you've got Jamil Matt, you've got those types of players as well who I'd never want to hear about ever again.
Yeah, I was going to go read Jamal Matt's name out. Isaac's got that one in. Thanks, Isaac. Steve has got a few in. Lee Thorpe, Jimmy Ryan, who, again, probably most recent. Peter Clark, recently at Fleetwood before going a bit closer to home to Tranmere. But, Tom, coming to you, Gary, we've got so many stats on here and a fan's favourite within Blackpool. Stephen Dobby, first time around at Blackpool, 2010, 16 games, 4 goals. One that I'll remember, whether it was on target or not, I'm not too sure. The one at Forest away in the semi-finals, that was a great moment. I'll give him credit because he deserves it. But as you were saying before, was it 4 loan spells altogether with Blackpool? And again, just someone who would always work for the cause. And again, just an all-round player that, when he got on the ball, he was going to excite the fans and get them on the edge of the seats.
It's a massive statement, but he's probably one of the most natural finishes I've seen in a tangerine shirt. And He's just so good. He's so good, and like you said, if he doesn't shoot at Forest, doesn't go in, and we don't go up. So, or we might have won the game. But he just added so much to that front line. He was such a nuisance. I remember a game at Southampton when we won 3-0 at home. He shrugged off the defender and curled it in. He scored so many decent goals, and it's shown at the Queen of the South. I think we were saying before, 125 games and 70 goals. He just scores goals, and it's someone that we needed desperately in that season, and someone that produced time and time again. So we were lucky to have him, and he was an outstanding player.
Yeah, just touched on his time at Fleetwood. He played 27 games, scoring 4 goals for the Cods in there. So a great player, and there's so many more. As I said, Barry Ferguson, I believe, is one. Bob Harris, who Tom, I know you. a player that obviously kind of going on the ways of Craney, but again, I thought it was a great talent. Matt Gilks, obviously, was at Fleetwood last season, didn't play too many games, but has moved on now, and I think he's at Bolton with Ian Everett, so getting the band back together, as so many people have been saying there. But again, so many players. I mean, we've probably only touched the sides really with players who play for both, but there's so many there. And James Husband, for example, playing tomorrow, you would have thought. But I want to talk about score predictions now. The most important thing, we've asked the people watching to leave their comments in. I'll read a few out before. Tangerine Tom says 2-1 to Blackpool. We've also got Gareth White just says 3-1 to Blackpool. Fleetwood getting their goal. Steve H says 2-1 to Blackpool. A bit of a common theme there, Tom, but I'll come to you before Ben. What are your score predictions for tomorrow's match?
I'm going to say it because I feel it. I'm going to say 2-0. And I don't know why I think we're going to keep a clean sheet, but I think they'll put a lot of pressure on us and we'll ride the storm and nick a second. But look, let's not take anything away. It's going to be an amazing game tomorrow. And if Fleetwood, I hate to say it, Fleetwood go out and win and we don't turn up because they play well, and it'll be because their home form is so decent. But I like to think with the former and the players we've got, and providing Ballard and a few others start, Dougal, etc., then we should have enough quality tomorrow. 2-0 win.
Ben, coming to you. Your score predictions? One prediction.
I would go 0-0. I think it will be 0-0, but to add a bit of positivity, I'll go 2-1 to Fleetwood. I think if there is going to be goals, I think we might nick it, but it's going to be very tight. Either side will. And again, it's going to be interesting new scores, but I think Fleetwood might have a 2-goal lead, and someone like a Yates or a Hamilton will score with about 15 to go. So I'll have no fingernails, no hair, and no chair left by 5 o'clock because I'll be stressed. Just holding out that win, but 2-1 Fleetwood, Sam.
2-1 Fleetwood, interesting. I'll give you mine very shortly. Jamie, he says 2-0 to the Seasiders. Matt Smith, he says settle for a draw tomorrow, but if they can't handle CJ, then we'll win. I'll go for 1-1. John Aspinall, he's watching, and he says 0-0, a goalless draw. Ray Gregson, he leaves his comments and says, heart says 3-2 to Blackpool, but my head says 2-2. Very interesting. Bison's, he's left his comments and he said, if we play well, it'll be an easy 2-0 victory. Steve H, he says a point would still be a good result for Blackpool. I think I have to agree with him there. Fleetwood flying on home soil this season and carrying on from last season. Tim Fielding says a 0-0 board draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw tomorrow. I think there's going to be goals. The key battle for me is going to be between Camps and Dougal. Whoever comes out on there will help their side go forward. And I just think with the amount of, we've said this in previous years, that the amount of quality going forward for both teams is there to be seen. But we'll see who is firing all cylinders tomorrow and what the result is come 5 o'clock. But I'm going for a 2-2 draw. AMAC left his and said 2-1 to Blackpool. And Isaac, both teams should be in and around there at the end of the season. No doubt for me that's going to be a really competitive battle. And finally, I'll read this one out. Cliff Smith, thanks Cliff. He says, every time I feel confident, but we get tumbled. So I'm going for a 2-1 Fleetwood, joining your thing there, Ben. But we're going to leave it there. We are just over the hour mark, so I hope you've all enjoyed it. The winner of the prize will be announced after the show. We'll let Tom spin his magic wheel at home on his laptop to do it fair. So stay tuned on social media. And just a prediction here from Gary Ford is Joey Barton to get sent off.
Yeah, that's bound to come in. Get that on your actors, lad.
Well, that one on the Blackpool 2-1 win. No. We are going to do it there. And I want to finish off. I'll say thanks to both of you guys first, and I'll finish off. But Tom, as ever, it's been great to have you on, and definitely another insight into the game. And fingers crossed, Blackpool come out on top tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again.
No worries. And Ben, again, thanks for coming on. Your enthusiasm, mate, as you've seen in the comments before, it is great to see. And I wish you all the best in getting to 6,000 subs and beyond on YouTube. And again, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show this evening.
Really appreciate it, Sam, and thank you for having me on, and thank you for all the lovely comments. Really appreciate it, and good luck tomorrow. May the best side win, and hopefully see you in a few months. And after we get a couple of wins over you this week, that'd be nice. But always a pleasure to come on, and thank you for the opportunity.
No worries, Ben. I'll let you two go. I'm going to read about the Community Trust again, but huge thanks. And again, tomorrow the Seasiders podcast will be live 5:30, 6 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully, we are celebrating a victory over the Cods, but that'll be wait to be seen. Again, all the comments, huge thank you for Ray, Gary, John, Gareth, Amac, Cliff, Steve, everyone who's left a comment in the section. But for me, I just want to finish off with more about the Community Trust. I'm going to leave the link in the comments section as well. So if you can donate, that would be superb. But Blackpool Football Club, in conjunction with the Community Trust, have launched a festive fundraiser to support the local community. The initial object of the campaign is to address a startling statistic that shows at least 700 to 800 children of primary school age in the town will wake up on Christmas Day without a present to open. With the fans backing, the club and everyone else are looking to raise money to provide every primary school child with a toy and a gift box to unwrap on Christmas Day. The project is to be delivered by the Community Trust through local schools and organisations. And I can say, as of now, when I read this at 10 minutes past 9, on Friday the 4th of December, the total is at a whopping £20,118. So they're 80% of the way to their targets. 730 people have donated. Let's get it to that 25,000 mark, where Simon Sadler, the Blackpool's owner, will match it up to that amount. So let's try and make everyone's Christmas this year a special one, especially with what's been going on globally with the pandemic. So if you can dig deep in your pockets, that would be absolutely fantastic. So there's a link in the comment section, whatever platform you're listening on, but hopefully we can all do our bit. I've donated. Hopefully you can as well. I'll leave it there. But again, a huge thank you to all the Blackpool fans who have listened this evening. I'll leave it there. And hopefully Blackpool can go to Highbury tomorrow and pick up 3 points up the pool.